Hello, everybody. Today we are having an episode on the Grapevine. We're super happy to have you. My name is Susan.
I'm Reham. I'm Susie.
Today we are going to be talking about it's the third episode of a three-part series on the Triumphant Christian Retreat Center. And we have a very special guest with us, Bishop Youssef, who is the Bishop of the Southern United States. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate all the effort that you are doing in the Grapevine episode.
Thank you. So as some of you may have remembered, hopefully you saw, we did 2 episodes at the Triumphant Christian Retreat Center. The first one we did was about the center itself. The second episode was about addiction. And then the third part is with Bishop Youssef about the spiritual aspect of addiction and really the background story of the center itself. So just a little bit of information about it. It's located in Brooksville, Florida, and it's actually the only center like this in the United States to help with addiction and helping people along that journey. So Bishop Youssef, if you could tell us a little bit about the Triumphant Christian Retreat Center.
Actually, it started by diagnosing some problems with the Coptic community and how we address them. And actually, we diagnosed 6 problems with the Coptic community. And I think these are not problems with the Coptic community in the southern states, but also in North America. And last week I was in Egypt and I had meeting with the counseling institutes in Egypt, and they shared with me this problem also now exists in Egypt, unfortunately. The 6 problems, because I want to make our congregation aware of them. Number 1 actually is addiction. Number 2 is domestic violence. Number 3, infidelity. Number 4, depression and suicide. Number 5, homosexuality. And unfortunately, I say, even among our Coptic community, there are some people who claim that they are homosexual, and we should not actually make ourselves blind. We should address this problem. And number 7 is divorce and the increasing number of divorce. So after we diagnosed these 6 issues, I started thinking to make a plan to address these 6 problems. Not only, again, in a therapeutic way, but also in a prophylactic way. How to protect our children from addiction, for example. Because when we invest in protecting our children from addiction, this will be much, much powerful and effective than treating person from addiction.
Yes.
Treating person from addiction is very, very challenging.
Yes.
So we need both. That's why for the addiction, I start to think about how to have like a Christian retreat, Christian center, in order to bring these addicts into this center to be treated. Because we found that outpatient is not effective. You need to bring them into a place where actually they have support system, where have they change their mind, as St. Paul said, be transformed by the renewal of your mind, where they learn new coping mechanisms, how to cope with the stress, how to cope with the pressures of life in order to quit addiction. And this program actually, the 4 major lines in this program, number 1 is a spiritual direction, because you cannot overcome any addiction in your life without the grace of the Holy Spirit. That's why priests go there, they pray liturgy, servants, they go and do Bible study, and there's Bible study about addiction, complete curriculum, and also fathers go and take confessions from, the student there. So spiritual direction is very, very important. Number two, counseling. And we have a professional counselor who used to be actually a Catholic priest, but he is specialized in addiction, and he does group therapy and individual therapy. We including the 12 steps, but from Orthodox perspective, and this is very helpful to the students. Number three, we do rehabilitation, how to prepare them going back to the society in a new environment with new mind, with new skills, how to cope with the stress in order not to relapse back. And before these three steps, we require detox. And thank God we have some psychiatrists, Coptic psychiatrists, who help us in offering detox for our students before they join the program. So the program actually covers these 4 points, and also we are planning to bring also the families of the students in order to do with them some like convention, raising awareness about addiction, see if there is any family issues that contributed to the problem of addiction, because changing the environment in which the addict lived is very, very important to help in preventing relapse again. And we choose Triumphant because the name Triumphant Christian Church, because I want to emphasize, yes, we can be victorious. Yes, we can overcome. Addiction will not overcome me, but through the grace of God, I can do all things in Jesus Christ who strengthens me. That is the point of choosing the word triumphant Christian, because without Christ, we cannot overcome anything. And church, being a part in the church, the body of Christ, having the support system of the church. And when I speak support, it's support of the invisible support and visible support. Invisible through the intercession of saints, the cloud of witness around us, and the support through, my brethren in the church. Support and accountability is very, very important in treating addiction. That's the why we choose Triumphant Christian Church to be the name of the center. And also we have a church, as you said, we celebrate liturgies at least once a week, sometimes more than once a week. Priests go there and celebrate the liturgy there.
So, Sayyidina, the church there is named after the three
Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael.
Can you tell us a little bit about why that was that?
These three young children, they are young, but they were very strong in their faith. They determined not to defile themselves with the delicacies of the king, with Daniel. And also when they were offered to worship idols and to deny God in return of giving them pleasures of the world, prestige, money, they refused. And actually they chose to be thrown into a furnace of fire rather than to worship idols. And I'm sure you know the story, God protected them, and there was a fourth person with them in the furnace of fire and protected them. So these are good role models for the students and good intercessors for the students. I want them to look up to these young children, follow their footsteps, imitate their life, to be able, because what is the key here? To say no to the addiction, to say no to the pleasure. These young children, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael, were able to say no.
Yes.
We will not do it. So how to follow their footsteps and to be able to say no? I will not do it.
Very inspirational.
Yeah.
So it was a lot. So you said a lot of the Bible studies is basically from this Bible story, or are there other ones that are used as well?
No. From Old Testament and New Testament, there are many passages in the Bible address addiction, either directly or indirectly. Alcohol, for example, any other addiction. St. Paul, he mentioned 4 parameters. When I choose what is befitting for me or not befitting for me. He said all things are lawful, but first parameter, nothing control me. Second parameter, it should be edifying me. Third parameter, it should be suitable or befitting me as a Christian.
Yes.
Fourth one, I should not offend anybody. And if we think about these 4 parameters, we'll say, addiction is violating these 4 parameters. It's not edifying. It's not suitable. It controls me.
Yeah.
That's why there's withdrawal symptoms. And it offends others. Basically, it destroys the person. So, by understanding this, and then addiction starts here in the mind. So when we change or we renew our mind, then the transformation can happen. And by the way, renewal the mind, renew means meta in Greek, mind nous. So renewal the mind is metanoia, metania, which means repentance. So repentance starts by the renewal of mind. And instead of acquiring a wrong mind, now we'll acquire the mind of Christ. And by renewing our mind, I will have the power to overcome and be transformed into the likeness of Christ.
Yes. Amen.
Interesting. So were there any obstacles that were faced when setting up this facility?
Yes.
I remember it took a long time to
I saw
really
an
come to light.
Yeah, I saw an article in, I don't know if it was the Tampa paper or
Tampa
what.
Tribune.
Tampa Tribune
Yeah.
in like 2013, but we know that the center didn't open till, I bet, was it February 2016?
February
I
2016.
16,
So it
yes.
seems like there was a
February
long
1st.
gap between the article and the actual opening of the center.
Of course, finding the place, remodeling it, it took some time, more than what we expected. But this is actually not the real obstacle. The real obstacle is to find a servant to live in. We are trying actually to find servants to live in, but unfortunately, until now, we only have 1 servant. And there is an issue here if you have 4 students or 5 students, so 1 per 5. So we cannot accept more than 5 because we have only 1 servant. But if we have more servants, we can accept. Because serving also in a center like this, it's not an easy. It's very, very stressful.
Yes.
So you cannot, for example, have 10 students with 1 servant. It doesn't work. So we are praying that God may send us more servants, because if we have more servants, we can accept more people.
Right.
That's 1 obstacle, actually. Another obstacle, there are some cases who are not ready for them. For example, if there is a personality disorder beside addiction, as beginners, we cannot treat or help in the recovery. But sometimes we don't discover the personality disorder unless he joined the program. And after he joined the program, we have psychiatrists, and Reham also is serving with us in the rehab center. So we discover they have bipolar or borderline or whatever, and then it is beyond our ability to help them in this time. And when we ask them to leave, sometimes it's a challenge. And basically, we are not kicking them out, but we cannot help them. We can, and actually, we try to find another program well equipped to help them. But sometimes they feel rejected also, although it's not our intention.
Right.
Simply, we cannot help them.
Yeah. And I could see maybe when somebody comes in and they have because basically they have some sort of addiction, right? They've detoxed, they come in, you're probably maybe seeing them in a different state of mind, right? Like than maybe prior. So I could see somebody coming and then having something else that, like you said, the facility itself, it's not that they don't want to treat it, that they may not have the best equipment or be equipped to do so.
Right.
And also, I'm sure Riham can elaborate more about this. When you see an addict, you don't know whether this behavior, it's very difficult to say at the beginning this behavior is because of addiction or because of personality disorder. That's why it's difficult at the beginning to diagnose a personality disorder. And it is a big challenge for us as a beginner to help people with personality disorder to recover. I think it's difficult because there is a lot of confusion between behavior during addiction and behavior because of personality disorder. And I think also if a person has a personality disorder, the possibility of becoming an addict
is higher.
Is higher.
Right.
Like, people who are manic in bipolar.
And also because most of the students that we have, they have been addicted to drugs for a very long time. So even when we try to interview them over the phone and ask them about their baseline, it's really difficult to determine what is baseline because they're 30 and they use the drugs for 15 years of the 30. Wow. So it becomes almost like, where is your normal? We don't know.
Oh, yeah. So till after detox, can you really get a real
then
baseline?
Things start to surface, and then you see the real picture more.
And also after we graduated so far 2 groups. And after they graduate, we follow up with them to make sure that they are doing fine, there is no relapse. Because the possibility of relapse actually is very high. So following up with them after they graduate from the program is very important. Also, I encourage the priests to come and visit the students if they have students from their own churches.
Yes.
So even if they are not from the Florida, for example, if we have students from Arizona, from Tennessee, from Georgia, I encourage the priest to make a special visit to come and visit the students in the rehab center. This actually gives support and encouragement that his spiritual father is asking about him, he cares about him.
Yeah. So Sayyidna, is there a center like TCC, a Coptic-based one in Egypt? I'm aware of the other Protestant centers. They're all over Egypt, but is there...
Actually, the first center in Egypt was a Coptic center done by the Bishopric of Social Service when His Eminence Metropolitan Serapion was the Bishop of the Bishopric of Social Service in Egypt. This is actually the first Christian center in Egypt.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Wow. And when was that?
About maybe
80s,
20 years or 25 years ago.
In the 90s,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, this was actually the first center in Egypt. And thank for His Eminence Metropolitan Serapion who started the center. And actually it's very successful and treating many cases.
Yeah.
Just before we start the TCC here, I sent some cases to Egypt and they were treated there and actually they returned back very...
Is there other centers now in Egypt other than that one?
Yes, many centers now.
Do we ever invite any of the servants that work in centers like that in Egypt to come and help us? Or because Your Grace said that we're always facing the problem of finding servants, especially live-in. Do we ever invite anybody or bring them in to
Actually, I
stay for
talked
a
with Dr. Victor Sami, Dr. Magdi Ishaq, who helped actually in establishing the center in Egypt.
Okay.
Dr. Magdi came to Florida here in Clearwater about 2 years ago, but it was before
TCC started.
TCC.
Yeah.
And actually, I took several times Dr. Victor when he comes to America here, to come and see the center. But that's a good idea. Maybe you need to pursue it more.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Is there a reason why you chose the area for it to be in Florida and not in any of the other states of the southern diocese?
Not really. We were just looking for a facility, place that can be suitable. And I was looking in Texas, Florida, and Georgia, and Tennessee. So God sent us this facility in Florida.
I guess we got lucky.
Yeah.
We got lucky.
Yeah. But it serves actually people from North America. We have people even from outside the diocese.
Yes, from California a lot.
Yeah, from California, from New Jersey, from New York, have people. And actually, the bishops in North America, they are supporting the program and they are sending students to us. Yes. But I hope that we can have more servants in order to be able to accept more students.
And hopefully other centers open up in different areas.
I heard that in California, His Eminence Metropolitan Serapion with his Grace Bishop Abraham, they are thinking to start a new center in California.
Because definitely the need is there. The need is definitely there.
But I want to say the mission of the center, not only to treat the case, but also to raise the awareness, how to prevent addiction. Again, prophylactic, preventive. And also to teach the parents about the first sign of addiction, so they can know whether their son or daughter start to take drugs or not. And another point, what to do, because many parents, they don't know what to do if their son or daughter now they are addicts. And there is a very important principle, and I want to say it here. This principle is do not enable. Do not enable. That's the advice I give to the parents, because many parents tell me, I know my son is addict, but he refuses to go for treatment. I told him apply for TCC, but he refused to go. How can I push him to go? You cannot. But if you stop enabling him, and I'll explain what I mean by enabling him.
Please.
This is actually how you let him go and seek treatment. And usually I use the parable of the prodigal son to explain the concept of do not enable. If the father sent his son some food and some money, do you think the son would return to his father's house? Never.
Yeah.
So sending food and money, that's enabling the son. But when the father decided not to send him money or food and left him hungry, left him even desiring to eat the pods of the swine and nobody gave it to him, then the son made a decision, I will return to my father's house. Many parents, when their children get into problems because of their addiction, they actually rescue their children from their problems. That's enabling them.
Right.
So they will never ask treatment because somebody else is rescuing them.
Right.
Supporting
And they
them.
are actually intervening with God's law. God made a law, whatever a man sows, he reaps.
Yes.
But now if I'm sowing something and my parent is reaping it, that's intervention with God's law.
Yeah.
But if they let their son or daughter to reap what they sow, actually they will reach a point to say, I need treatment. I explain this to parents when they tell me my son refused to go to treatment. I tell them, don't enable your son, don't enable your daughter. And at the end, when they stop enabling them, they will come and say, we need treatment, we need treatment.
I think that's an excellent point, because I'm sure American parents, but definitely Egyptian parents, they don't want to see their children getting in trouble with the law or reaching rock bottom. They will enable them or rescue them each time, and that's probably why their child won't go to TC or apply. But I think it's important that you made that point and that you're saying that it's difficult as a parent to
Of course,
to do that.
this concept, we call it the tough love.
Right.
Yeah. But we need to do it. Otherwise, my son eventually will end with a problem with the law,
Right.
or dies from overdosage.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to
Right.
realize you need help, or you need, like, it's when I was reading about like stories of like addiction in the Bible, it kept coming up, the prodigal son, and honestly I never looked at that as an
addiction.
example, but it talks about, but when he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have food enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against God and before you, and I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. And he arose and went to his father. It brings up the point of like, you hit the lowest point, you want to eat the pig's food, and now you are humbled. You know, it's that point of like, you are truly humbled, and you're going to go and not even return as someone who is going to get an inheritance, but someone who wants to just be like a hired servant,
Right.
you know. And then it continued to talk about, and it was specifically when it came to addiction, it was talking about, you know, he went back, and of course his father, you know, embraced him and took him with open arms and said, you're barefoot, get, you know, the sandals and all of that. Like, so he like took him back immediately once he was humbled and sorry and all of that, and changed his ways. Yeah.
Another point I want also to mention to the parents, gadget addictions. You know, many parents right now, in order to be able to do their work, they give one of these devices, iPad or phone, to their child to start playing games or whatever. And actually children start to get addicted to games, to these devices. And when you take the device from them, you can see withdrawal symptoms, real withdrawal symptoms.
Like, I see anxiety. Like, you see, like, they like fidgety, they don't know what to do with their hands.
Anger.
And parents should stop doing this. It's another form of addiction. So I'm not going to speak even about what kind of games, the violence in games sometimes, etc. But this addiction to these devices, you know, children now, they sleep, they have the device next to them, they walk. Even before they do anything, they check, you know, their social media. It's addiction. It is addiction. And
not only children say it, not even adults.
But I'm saying it starts with their childhood. But yes, you can see any meeting, people cannot resist actually to check their phone, to check you know, their messages, their social media, their Facebook, you know, even during important meetings. It
becomes an impulse control thing.
During liturgy,
during liturgy, exactly. And it's another form of addiction. Pornography is another form of addiction. So raising awareness among our you know, community and among the parents. Unfortunately, sometimes parents themselves are addicted to computer, to internet, to social media, etc. So, how to use without abuse? That's very important, and I think the church should have important role in teaching, empowering the people, encouraging them, giving them tools, explain to them how to be able to use all this technology, all these, you know, tools without abusing them and affecting their own life. The social skills in our children and in our teenagers are going down.
They're diminishing.
Because all these devices made them isolated.
That's very true.
And if their social skills are going down, then they will not have support system.
Isolation.
They
Isolation.
will be disadvantaged for sure, even in the workplace later on.
Yeah, and this actually can lead to addiction, drug addiction.
Right.
And isolation can lead to drug addiction.
One feeds the other, right?
Yeah, one feeds the other, exactly.
I remember when we were at the Triumphant Christian Retreat Center, they were talking about gaming addiction even, like people who are just addicted to their
food.
And when you think about it, you know, you neglect work, you neglect your family, your social life, all of
your
that.
health, like you're
your
sitting
health.
down, you're not exercising or even getting up from the chair for hours. You know.
Shopping addiction.
Yeah, there's that too.
I did that.
And does the TCR, do they teach, the TCC, do they teach or treat, all of the different types of addiction?
We accept, for example, gambling, addiction, pornography. Yes, we accept this.
Yeah, we had a couple of cases, food addiction.
Yeah. And also, now TCC accept only males. But there is a need also for another center for females.
Yes.
Because there are female addicts.
Yeah.
But the studies and the research say to treat a female from addiction is more challenging than to treat a male.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think I'm pretty sure one of the reasons is because comorbidity is more common, especially personality disorders. So you're dealing with more than one thing.
Right.
Becomes very
So other
challenging.
underlying causes.
Right. And then also their willingness to come for treatment, especially if they have children, it becomes, because for a male, it's easier to leave the kids with their mom and go for treatment because the treatment takes 9 months.
Right.
At the TCC, other programs may be longer. So for a woman to abandon her family for that long is very challenging.
And I think also the emotional nature of female
Women.
make it more challenging to overcome addiction because it needs strong will.
Yes.
But the emotional nature is making her
More vulnerable.
more vulnerable for addiction.
So Sayedna, are you thinking about opening up a center for women?
It is in the plan, but I want TCC first to be established.
Well established.
As I said, we have some challenges like servants.
Right.
So how can I open another center and I'm lacking servants here?
Right.
But definitely we need, thank God the number of female addicts is much, much less
In our community?
In our community
Well,
than
that's
male
good to
addicts.
know.
But there are female addicts. And we need actually to find a center to treat them under our, eyes, our church, our dogmas, our doctrines. So it will be very helpful to have a center for females also.
Do you think that they would require more time then than 9 months because they're a little bit harder to treat, or?
Most probably. Yeah,
that would be a long time away.
Most probably. They will need more time.
So Sayedna, you talked about awareness, and I know if you guys remember when we had Dr. Adel Habib with us in one of the episodes, he was talking about
the Addiction Awareness Week.
Right, there is an Addiction Awareness Week coming up. That I think he was saying that he really, his vision is really to have it in all the churches all over the United States, not only even our diocese.
Yes, we prepared some material for this week, but we'll start with our diocese. Then actually, I will share the idea with the fathers, the bishops of North America, in order to coordinate having, this week across North America. But already we started, and we have Abuna Tadros visited many churches, I'm sure in Florida here, and he gave some lectures about
Abuna
addiction.
Tadros Hermina?
Abuna
Oh,
Hermina,
okay.
yes. Yes, he went to Clearwater, Tampa. I think he went also to Orlando. He gave many lectures about addiction to raise awareness, how to know whether your son or daughter is addict, what are the first signs,
very good.
prophylactic, how to prevent them, etc. But we need actually to work more again on the preventive, it is much easier to prevent than to treat.
I would think.
Yeah, it's true. So do we know when that week is going to be? What months?
We did not decide yet, but we will announce.
Yeah, okay. Because we in CYC, I think we should be, like participating in making that, more available to everybody.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever we can do to help, we definitely want to raise awareness and
Yes.
bring everyone to know about it.
Thank you, Bishop Youssef, for speaking with us today. I did want to say, too, if this pulls at anybody's heartstrings or they feel that this is something they'd really like to volunteer in, you can visit www.triumphantcrc.org to learn more about the program. And thank you, Bishop Youssef, for being with us today to speak about this. And have a good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.